Cashflow Diary Podcast, episode 63.
Congratulations, you showed up. Give yourself a high five in celebration of your success. Welcome to the Cashflow Diary, where new and experienced investors come to take confident action towards their goals. Your host is a family man, a real estate entrepreneur, investor, coach, and instructor. As a master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's Cashflow 101 game, he's inspired many to begin their journey into creating cash flow for themselves and their family. And now, here he is to offer you the tools required to earn the income desired. Your cash flow coach, Jay Massey.
All right, and welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast. I am your host, Jay Massey, and I'm glad that you are here. We're going to have some fun today. We're actually going to do something that I think is by far the most important thing you should do before endeavoring to build cash flow, to build business, to go out there and do anything. You should absolutely know why you're doing it. Because one of you probably heard me say this at least once, where I like to make a difference, not just make a dollar. And we've got to do that with specific and determined intent. The guest today will help us with that. However, if this is your first time joining us, I just want to make sure that you know that of a couple of things. One, you've got a free real estate course sitting there for you at Learn Investing Now so that you can go out there and begin your transformational process. LearnInvestingNow.com. Go there, put your information in, name, email, and you will be started well on your way to raising capital, to learning wholesaling, to making sure that you have the ability to find deals, transact business, and get things started. If you say to yourself, you know what, Jay, I'm done with learning and I'm ready to start doing, that's great, because Begin Investing Now is sitting there just for you, because we have cash flow ready, investor ready properties sitting there hoping that you would call them home so that you have the ability to go out there and build your cash flow in a very tangible way easily. Now, here's the thing. Regardless of whether you're learning or whether you're in the process of beginning, you must have a focus on what it is that you're doing. One of the cool things about being able to interview and meet so many different people is that there is no one specific way that always resonates. And sometimes, even though you hear similar things, what's cool is that the teacher and the student must appear simultaneously. And what happens is that you learn from different people in different ways. And that's what I'm excited about today, because today's guest is a transformational leader, speaker, and coach that has trained thousands of individuals. Keywords here: to discover their purpose, step into their power, and learn how to make purpose-driven businesses profitable and live big. Now, if you've ever said to yourself, you know what, there's more out there for life for me, you are absolutely right. If you've wondered how to get it, well, we're going to do and cover that on this particular episode. So do me a favor and welcome Mr. Gerald Rogers. Gerald, you there?
Woohoo! Yay! I feel like the crowds are going crazy. Whoa! Yay! I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Jay.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad that you've taken the time to invest here. Hopefully we can produce a return together that enlightens everyone and gets them on their way.
Yeah, and I believe we will. And I want to acknowledge everyone that's listening right now for being the type of person that would actually invest the time and energy to be part of this conversation. That says a lot about them. And Jay, I want to acknowledge you for being the creator to be able to allow everyone to learn from your experience and the people that you bring on guests of this show. I mean, I really acknowledge powerful creators like you that are out there making a difference. Thank you.
You're welcome, and I feel it. I call it a privilege just to be a part of that difference. So, for those that may not know you a little bit more, why don't you first start and tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started, and typically I call this your origin story. You know, before Gerald Rogers was Gerald Rogers. Tell us how how did you earn your stripes, your capes, and your Superman cape?
Yeah, I think that, like everyone that's listening here, my journey has been one that's been unexpected in a lot of ways and fantastic in other ways and deeply, deeply painful in other ways. And it's all perfect. Like one of my core beliefs is that our lives are divinely orchestrated, and all of these events that happen in our life happen for a reason. So I grew up in a lower middle class family in Minnesota, my dad always had this entrepreneurial bug in him, but he was terrible at business. He was absolutely terrible at running a business. And so we lived most of our life, below the poverty line, but we were happy. I mean, we had 8 kids in my family, and so there was always lots going on, and just a really hardworking family. But this idea of wealth was never something that I experienced or demonstrated. We lived in a very, scarcity focused thing where, always coupons, always, hand-me-down clothes. And that's kind of like where my roots first started. But when I went to college, I actually studied illustration afterwards. I just knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, that I wanted to have this freedom to create life on my own terms. And for the first couple of years, I did that around, around illustration and graphic design, and was a freelancer there. But then my brother gave me this book that completely changed my life, and I'm not sure if anyone else had the same experience, but it was a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You read that, Jay?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the first time I read that book, it was so completely foreign to me, like completely new, and it lit my mind on fire. I couldn't sleep for days, and all of a sudden it was like financial freedom, financial freedom. It completely changed my mindset around assets and liabilities and how to create wealth and how I want to spend my life and how I wanted to, just become financially educated, and really set me on a path that I wasn't expecting. And I started to really learn about money and started to focus, and like probably most of the people that have read the book is like, okay, real estate's going to be my path to getting rich, right? So I went out there, and I was I was probably I don't know what it was about me. I was so eager and so stupid, right? So I was so like hungry to get wealthy and hungry to get rich and completely clueless. And I was one of those do-it-yourselfers, right?
Oh.
I thought, I don't need to hire a coach. I don't need to, invest in. I can figure this out.
Uh-oh.
And what I learned very quickly was the most expensive way to be successful is to try and figure out how to do it on your own. And so I met this real estate agent who he was young, and I'm sure he was doing the best he could, but he introduced me to this property. He says, yeah, this house is worth $500,000, and if you put an offer in right now, you can get over 250. And I was like, okay, whatever. Here I was, I had like $5,000 total saved up, and I ended up buying this monstrous 5,000 square foot home. And it was a log home. It was the worst possible investment I ever could have made. My real estate agent, for about $25,000 you can fix it up, you can turn around, and you can make $100,000. I was like, $100,000? Like I was like, I'm gonna retire. I thought for sure this was my path for getting rich. And so, anyways, I bought the house, and it ended up cost me like. I spent the next 6 months. I couldn't do any other work. I was just focusing on that, and it ended up costing me over $100,000 to fix up this home. Like it was the most dysfunctional home you could ever imagine. And then make a long story short, I made every possible mistake you can imagine, and finally, 2.5 years later, I finally sold the property, and I was so relieved because I only lost $45,000.
Wow.
It was epic. It was awesome. It's so funny for me to look back because I was so eager for success, and I didn't realize that there's very specific laws and principles that you need to follow if you want to create success. It's not just about being passionate about what you do. You need to be smart about what you do too. But there was this also thing about my personality, which I notice in most successful people. It's just this idea that we're not afraid to fail, right? Failure doesn't even exist for us. It's just like, okay, what did I learn from that experience? Was that what I wanted? No. But I learned something from it. And Tony Robbins actually talks about this. He says, as long as you try, you'll get a result. That result might not be what you expect, but if you learn from it, you'll always be successful. And so I kind of chalked that up to like a $45,000 investment into my education. And I kept, plugging forward, and I ended up buying like 65, 70 houses over the next couple of years, and just kept moving forward and learning and growing and expanding. And I actually learned to start hiring coaches and going to workshops and seminars and feeding my mind with the right information. And it was going fantastic. It was going amazing. And I was like right on the verge, right on the verge of financial freedom. And I was like, yes, I'm almost there. And then I was living in Orlando, Florida at the time. And this was like 2007, 2008. And over the course of 6 months, I found myself over $500,000 in debt with 8 properties in foreclosure, completely like $20,000 a month in negative cash flow. And I remember it was like 2:00 one morning, and I'd been days since I had slept, and I was looking in my office, and I saw this huge stack of unopened bills, and I was afraid to open them because I knew I had no way to pay these bills. And that night I had a conversation with my wife, and I'd finally acknowledged to her where we were at, and the reality is that I couldn't see any solution outside of bankruptcy. And at that time, I was bloodshot eyes and like tears and like my whole identity had been wrapped up around about money and wealth and success, and had kind of built this image for myself that I was trying to live up to, and all of that was gone. And I was confronted with this question: all right, who am I? What is it that I want to do with my life? Where is it that I want to go? How do I recover from this? And it was that night that I made a decision that changed my life. And that decision was simply that my mistakes will not define me. My failures will not hold me hostage. Like, I am bigger than these problems, and I will find a way to overcome them. I will find a way to rise again. And it's kind of like this image of the phoenix rising from the ashes, right? And I know you've experienced that too. Like everyone that's successful has experienced, losing it all. Like I don't know anyone that hasn't, honestly. And that's part of the journey. And it's not part of the journey I recommend, but for whatever reason, I realized that at that time I wasn't ready to be wealthy. I wasn't ready to be successful because there was so much that I didn't appreciate about life outside of that. And there was some really dysfunctional beliefs that I had about wealth and about money and about success. And I realized that in some ways I had been selling out. I'd been selling out in the sense that I wasn't pursuing what I was really passionate about and what I was really purposeful about. Like in some ways, I kind of stepped into this opportunity. I was like, okay, I'm just going to do what I don't like long enough so I can spend the rest of my life doing what I do want to do. And sometimes we buy into that lie. I mean, it takes work to be successful, and sometimes you have to do things you don't enjoy. But I also firmly believe that you shouldn't procrastinate your happiness. It's not about waiting until finally you're financially free, then you can start living the life of your dreams. No. Live the life of your dreams now as you're creating wealth and abundance, and realize that we live in total abundance in this moment and stepping into gratitude. And so the decision I made in my life at that time was a decision that said, I'm not going to sell out anymore. I'm not going to do anything that's not completely in alignment with my purpose. And I started to rebuild and build a new foundation. And what's been fun is over the last 5 or 6 years, I've had the incredible blessing and opportunity of being able to speak on stages and do workshops and events around the country and work personally with these purpose-driven entrepreneurs and coach them on how to double their income while doing what they love, and how to step into this holistic experience of living where it's not just about money, because money in and of itself, I mean, everyone that's listening to this understands that money can't buy you happiness, because that's not its purpose, right? Money creates opportunity, money creates experiences, money creates freedom, but happiness comes from appreciation of what we have. Happiness comes from meaningful relationships. Happiness comes from living in a body of health, and the reality is we can be happy now as we're on this path of creating the wealth that we desire. And so that's kind of part of my mission in teaching people how to live big. It's not procrastinating until some future day, your happiness or your ability to live life on your terms. No, live it today. Embrace today and choose today to live big.
Nice. Now, there was a lot there. I mean, I was sitting here taking notes, and I'm just like, you said the most expensive way to be successful is to do it on your own. Now,
Yeah, not only the most expensive, but the longest, the hardest, the most painful. And it's so funny because I mean, so many of us are do-it-yourselfers, but it's like the cheapest, fastest, and easiest way to do it is to invest in having a coach or hiring a mentor or having someone that can, investing in the education. And some people jump into the story that says I can't afford it. Well, the reality is, how can you not afford it? Like if you really want it, like yeah, don't try and do it on your own because it just hurts. Trust, take it from me. It just hurts.
and I find that there. No, I just that was I've never heard anyone say that, but it's very very true. The most expensive way to learn those things. It's slow when you're trying to go at it all by yourself, but once you begin to have help, even though you may have had to pay, I don't know, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars for that assistance, that person who's there has the ability to what I call collapse time frames and help you actually achieve more than you probably would have actually done, and typically less time. And I can definitely relate to that, and that's been one of the keys, if there is a key to anything that we've done correctly, has been the fact that I've had outside help
Yeah.
making that happen. So and I like the idea that, I mean, at the same time, it's not traditional in the house. Like you were saying, you didn't necessarily grow up in a family where this idea, this concept, hey, if you want to be successful, go get a mentor, was talked
Yeah.
about. So how
Yeah.
have your I'm just curious, have your siblings also been able to manage to understand that they might need a little bit of assistance to move forward now?
Yeah, it's interesting because I got about half my brothers and sisters that absolutely are in alignment with that and are constantly investing in their education. And one of my brothers who's become a very successful coach, and now he's actually going to Harvard Law School on he's got a big you know grant to be able to go there. And anyways, it's like really, yeah, it's interesting to watch the ripple effect as they've watched me and they've been part of my events and they've seen the things that I've done and how they do it. Um, and this concept of having the right support, it's not just important so that we find the shortcut and find the easiest way to do it and find the fastest path, but it's also important because it helps us so we don't give up. And this is one of the roles of coaches or mentors or having your power team in your life, is it keeps you going. There's a statistic that says 9 out of 10 small businesses fail within the first 5 years. And what I say to that is it's not true. The businesses don't fail. The entrepreneurs give up. They give up because it's hard. And I think in some ways, I'm a little bit of a unique breed that I could lose $45,000 on my first deal and say, "Oh, that was awesome. Let's go do some more." Right? you know,
Oh, well,
because most
yeah.
people would give up after that and say, "Oh my gosh, this is too hard. I'm going to go back to my little cubicle job where I feel safe." Right?
Well,
Um,
the thing is, it was your perspective though, and that's the thing. I often tell people that rain falls on me just like it does on you, and sunshine falls on you just like it does on me. The difference is, if I like the rain, I'm happy when it's raining, and if I hate the sunshine, I'm miserable. It's all about perspective, and your perspective was accurate. In the sense it supported where you wanted to go, and I don't know where it came from, but you had it, and it's not just about being the right person and it's not just about being at the right place at the right time, but you were also the right person. So yeah, you had an experience, one that you probably don't want to repeat, but you also recognized it for what it is an opportunity to have a launching pad, a platform from which to come. And even worse, I guess, even bigger than the 45,000 is the whole 2008 experience that you went through. I mean, that takes the same thing, but probably to a whole new level.
yeah, it does. And the reality is like, um, there's no way for us to avoid in our life times when we face challenges or problems or obstacles or, you know, major letdons.
You know,
But those are
Gerald, if we
those
keep
are,
if we keep telling people that there's no way to avoid it, they're going to stop listening.
I know. I feel bad for anyone that's listening. I hate to be the bearer of bad news and break it to you. I'm sorry, guys. Like it's come, and the funny thing is, no matter how much personal development you do, you'll still have problems, right?
Yes, just
And
different and bigger ones.
yeah, you bigger because it's like the bigger you become as a person, the greater the problems need to be to push you to the next level. One thing we always joke about is like new level, new devil, right? Every time you expand, it's just like you're just prepared to, you know, embrace greater challenges. And the reality is a lot of people don't want to hear that, but it's also really powerful to realize that those challenges, those problems that we face help refine us. They do not define us, right? Bankruptcy doesn't define who I am, but it definitely helped refine me. When I went through divorce, it didn't define me, it refined me. It helped me become a better person and someone who's going to be a better husband when I have that opportunity again. And it's interesting because people can step into being what I call an unconscious reactor or a conscious creator. And how we choose to operate in life makes all the difference in terms of how fast we grow, how big we expand, or how much pain we experience. And so I want to share these concepts because I believe at the core of everything I teach, and I believe the core of all personal developments, it's this idea of learning how to be a conscious creator of our life. So, first of all, as we look at being an unconscious reactor, an unconscious reactor is someone who is a victim, the victim mentality, and they're constantly pointing blame on situations, or they're blaming the economy, or they're blaming their business partner, or they're blaming their spouse, or they're blaming other factors outside of them for the challenges that they're experiencing. A reactor is someone who always is waiting for direction, waiting to be told what to do. So rather than being proactive, they're just reactive in that space. An unconscious reactor is someone who is not willing to take accountability for the results of their choices or the results of their life. The conscious creator, however, and this is where all our power lies. The conscious creator takes a look at, okay, these are the results of my life, and I know I'm responsible for those results. And they ask, okay, how did I create these, and how can I create something different? A conscious creator is someone who is proactive, engaged, they're inspired, they have a vision for where they're going, what they want to do, who they want to become. They're always, you know, they're not willing to pass the buck to someone else. They're always asking, okay, what can I do about this situation? So for me, as I went through bankruptcy and as I went through these other challenges that we go through in life, I always come back to this question that says, okay, what did I learn? How did I get here? What did I learn? And what can I do better next time? And those three core questions empower me to make sure not only do I not make those same mistakes again, but it also is this huge catalyst for growth and expansion in my life. And it's kind of like the slingshot effect, you know, or
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's just like when we get to our deepest lows, those are our catalysts for our greatest highs. You know, our breakdowns are our catalysts for our greatest breakthroughs, but only if we're ready to be conscious creators and learn from the experiences. And when we do, we really, really get to a point. Like I look at bankruptcy as being one of the greatest gifts of my life. I look at divorce as being like one of the greatest gifts of my life. And people have a hard time understanding this. It's just how I experience my life because I'm so much of a stronger, better person because of what I learned in that process. And I couldn't be who I am. I couldn't have the strength that I have. I couldn't have the insights and knowledge that I have without those experiences. And so I look at even those deeply challenging moments of my life as being divinely orchestrated, you know, catalysts for me to step more fully into living my purpose.
Absolutely. Now, the question someone might be asking though is, you know, they're saying to themselves, I can almost hear it. In fact, they're going, but Gerald, you don't understand. You don't understand what I'm going through right now. How could I take responsibility for these things? I mean, you don't know my situation. All this happened to me and this happened to me. There's no way I can make that change. You want me to live on purpose. I'm just trying to live. You know, So let me ask you this question, Gerald. How
Uh-huh.
do you make that switch? Where's that magic? Do you got a pill for $29.95 that I can take and make the switch over?
It's
Uh,
actually 39.95. Like we've had a lot of supply and demand. Everyone's looking for the pill, so we've actually had to raise prices. But
hey, that's all good, as long as it works, right? That's what they
um,
say late night. All I got to do is take this, and then suddenly I'm going to be better. What's the magic secret? All right, I just wanted to let you know a couple of quick things, and I'll get you right back to the interview. It's almost time. We're getting close to that magic witching hour, into which many of you, most of you, will have received all of the pre-orders for the book. Yay! We're getting really close to that official launch date, and it'll no longer be pre anything. It'll be here's the book, available everywhere. Here's the book. Now, in the meantime, though, one thing that I did want to give you guys an update on is I've been asked actually by many of you who have already gotten the book and began reading it. And for those of you who want to get the book, you just send a text message over to 949-682-3565. The keyword you're going to type in that text message is the word book. And that'll allow you to get a couple sample chapters and send you a link to place the order. The digital copy of the book, for those of you that are international, you can get the digital copy of the book for $9.99. $9.99 US. Yes, very inexpensive. Delivered to you immediately, or if you want it signed, feel free just to add a signed copy to your order, and I'll make sure that that happens. Here's the cool news, is that many of you have already received it, started reading it, started sending us feedback about what you like, and that's encouraging. And then I heard someone say those two words: will there be an audiobook? I'm like, what? Wow. I guess I should have expected it. And I'm here to say then that, yes, there will be an audiobook. And then the second question came up: well, who is going to be the voice in the audiobook? And I thought it was okay to hire that done, but you guys said, no, we want you to do it. So I have decided to learn how to make that happen too. And I'll begin working on that here and making that available, obviously, as we go. I will give you a really big hint. There's probably a strong possibility for those people who have pre-ordered the book, the physical book. So if you bought the physical book along with the ebook combo, this includes you. There's probably a strong possibility that many of those individuals will be getting something special in an audio format, but that's not official yet. Got to check with the powers that be to make sure it all works out. But I have a feeling that there's a very, very strong possibility. Hopefully you can read in between those lines. Just wanted to give you guys that quick update, and let me get you back to the interview.
So what comes to mind is I obviously have events and a lot of training that I do and a lot of things that I do to support people in living big and becoming conscious creators. And so there's a lot of tools and a lot of things you can do. And it's not rocket science. It's all very practical, very easy, very implementable. And I see people completely turn their lives around in the course of 3 to 6 months simply by applying these things. But if I could offer like one like really, really like ridiculously simple tool, it's understanding the power of questions. What I firmly believe is the quality of our questions determines the quality of our lives. And most of the time we live in life where we've got this part of our brain that's called the reticular activating system. And this is a part of our brain which is our goal-seeking mechanism. It creates the reality in our life based on what we put in there as a priority. And it creates our awareness, it creates all of these things, and then basically creates the focus of where we go. And what happens is when someone's feeling depressed or exhausted or they feeling like a failure, they can't do it, it's because somewhere inside their subconscious, they're asking really, really lousy questions, right? So they're asking questions like, why is this so hard, or why can't I do this, or how come things never work out for me?
Hmm.
Uh, why did I have to get abused as a child, or why did I have to do this, or how come I had to grow up in this situation, or and the reality is, if you ask crappy questions, what type of answers are you going to get? Right? You're going to get crappy answers, and that's our emotions are nothing more than this feedback mechanism that says, oh my gosh, somewhere inside I'm asking crappy questions. I've got crappy beliefs, and it's showing up in the form of emotions. Emotions are nothing more than this little feedback mechanism that tell us how are we doing in terms of our beliefs, our perspective, and our actions. If our emotions are off, it just says something's off inside of us. And so one of the fastest ways to shift that is to change our focus, and we change our focus through asking more empowered questions. So for instance, if I experience a challenge, something comes up in my life that I really don't like, I ask myself a question. It's like, okay, great. What's great about this? What can I learn from this? How can I become better from this? Um, the question that says, okay, what do I really want in my life? And this trains my mind to focus on what I want versus what I don't want, because all of us have heard what you focus on expands. It becomes your reality, and it becomes your truth. And so then other questions such as, how can I serve more clients with the work that I do? How can I be more effective? How can I be a master at, this profession that I'm in? How can I how can I how can I make more money this year? How can I, create, additional cash flow? And when we ask these questions, it plants these things deep inside our mind, and then our mind really starts looking for answers and solutions for that. That's where our mind's looking, and it looks deep within these file cabinets within inside our brain. And then all of a sudden we become aware of the right people, the right information, the right circumstances. And this is like one of the core reasons why the law of attraction works, is because your mind is focused on these things. And then when we can focus on what we're grateful for, what am I grateful for? Why am I so lucky? Or how did I get to be so great? Or, all of these questions, it forces our mind to find empowered answers that charge our life. And I think this is one of the core keys of making the transition from being this unconscious reactor that's focused on negativity and pessimism and focusing on the challenges in your life, and shifting that focus to being a conscious creator, and focusing on what's right and what we want to create, and how we can, take accountability and actually move forward. And it's something that's just a simple moment of noticing and recognizing what are the thoughts that are going on inside of me right now, and how can I turn those into an empowered thought that's based on the truth. And one of the core principles that I teach in my workshops is this idea that lies will always limit you. So all the beliefs that say, I can't do this, or I don't deserve to be successful, or money is hard, or rich people are greedy, all of these are limiting beliefs, and lies will always limit, but the truth will set you free, right? And
Right.
so when we can focus on nourishing the true beliefs and say, well, I can accomplish whatever I put my mind to. I am a divinely inspired individual. God is on my team. Money is easy. Abundance is my birthright. Whatever the belief is, then it empowers us to actually do the steps, take the action that's required to generate those results in our life.
Now, interestingly about this process of changing and transformation, I know for myself, and having worked with a number of clients to help them make their own transitions, um, what would you say to the belief that change has to take a long time?
I would say that if you believe that, then it's going to be your reality, right? And
Indeed.
and then I would say, well, why would you choose to believe that? Um, the truth is that, especially when it comes to shifting our thought patterns and beliefs. And I spent years studying NLP and neurolinguistic programming, hypnosis, a ton of other healing modalities, and really understanding how to shift and how to train the subconscious to work for you rather than against you. And so I've spent a lot of time understanding these psychological principles. And the reality is that most of the operating system of your brain was installed there before you were 4 or 5 years old, right? Since the time you were young, you adopted all these beliefs, and a lot of them just aren't true. Beliefs about money, beliefs about life, beliefs about who you are. And the reality is that you will always be living up to your own self-expectation, your own self-image, and this self-image that was created long, long ago. And this is why a lot of people experience change being hard, and they jump into, New Year's Day syndrome, and they create this resolution that says, yeah, I'm going to totally transform my body this year. I'm going to exercise every day for 45 minutes every single day, and I'm going to totally, right? And they jump in. January 1st, they do it like, yeah. January 2nd, oh, I'm a little bit sore, but I'm committed. Oh, January 3rd, it's like, oh, it's cold, and I'm tired. I think I can have a day off today. January 4th, they're back to eating ho-hos on the couch watching football, right?
Well, I prefer Twinkies, but yes.
Twinkies, yeah, absolutely. Because the challenge is they try to change the behavior without changing the internal mindset and belief, right? I could give you all of the skills to be successful as a real estate investor or as an entrepreneur, and none of them matters. None of it matters if you have an internal self-image that says you're not good enough for success, or that success is hard, or that money is painful, or that you'll be rejected if you're successful. If you have those core internal blueprint, there's no skill set in the world that can make you successful.
Nice.
And so it requires you that you have both a mindset and the skill set. And so when people say change is hard, of course it's hard if you're trying to work against your mind, right? Because there is no amount of self-control or willpower that will overcome your internal blueprint of who you believe you are.
You're really, I mean, this is what I'm taking away. You're saying we're the ones we have always been the one with the power, in so many ways. And what we have learned is we've abused our own power, which has resulted in an experience that we typically find less than enjoyable. That's kind of what I'm hearing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just when you realize that, wow, I've created the life that I have right now. I've created all of the success, and I've created all the dysfunction, right?
Yay!
You look at the body that you're in. You look at, if you're carrying extra weight, or you're tired, you're exhausted, or you have diabetes, or whatever it is. Like, the reality is, you created that body, and it's the result of years and years of beliefs and actions and inactions and all of these things. And the same thing with your money. If you're struggling, if you're in debt, if you're in these things, it's just like, this is your creation, right? Own it. And the power of accountability really sets us free, because it says, wow, if I created this mess, I wonder what I could create the moment I become conscious, right? And when we focus on conscious change in our life, and we focus on operating within the laws of truth, and the laws of the subconscious, and the laws of proactive change, then we realize that change doesn't have to be hard at all. Change is just a matter of shifting our beliefs and shifting our patterns that we've been operating. But most people are like, well, how do I do that, right? How do I do that? And there's lots of ways. And unfortunately, we don't have time to go into all of those concepts, and that I can take you through the processes. I mean, that's obviously what the workshops and additional coaching are for, is just support you in creating those long-term changes. But what I do want to emphasize is this image. And sometimes these analogies help us to kind of understand how our mind works. If you can kind of imagine that, you live in this little village, this is your home, and every day you make this trek to another village, right? Every day you walk along this path, and as you're walking along this path, every time you walk along this path, the path becomes more and more defined, right? Mm-hmm. And if you walk that path for years and years and years and years and years, day and day, over and over, several times a day, then that path becomes a well-worn road, right? Can you imagine that?
Yes.
Now, that is kind of like the neural pathways of our brain. These are the default ways of you thinking and believing and you acting in the world. And so we create these deeply ingrained patterns and behaviors and habits that are just like second nature for us, because we've traveled those paths so many times. But if you get to a point where you realize, oh my gosh, I really don't like that village I've been visiting. I don't like that destination at all. I don't like that money situation. I don't like that relationship. I don't like that body that I've been like creating. I want to create something new. And you say, okay, I want to go this other direction. But over on the other direction, it's going to require you to go through this field, cut through some bushes, go through this jungle, and when you do it for the first time, it's going to feel completely unnatural because you've spent the last 30, 40 years of your life walking down this other path that's created this other result. And as you go through this thing, like one of the things I say is when you've been doing the wrong thing long enough, doing the right thing feels wrong. Right? Because it feels so unnatural to start, doing something and you start, making your way through this like, these bushes and this, and you're kind of hacking your way through, and finally you make it to this destination, and it's got like waterfalls, and it's just like, yes, this is what I want, right? This is beautiful. This is amazing. But and so you have that big breakthrough where you either make a lot of money or you lose some weight, or you have this amazing, passionate, beautiful experience with your spouse, whatever that is, right? You've reached a new destination, and it was awesome, and you're like, yes, this is where I want to go. But this path is so new and so fresh that it has to be reinforced. Otherwise, it's natural for you to go back to those old patterns and behaviors. And this is what people experience all the time. They have this big breakthrough and says, wow, that was awesome. And then they go back to doing what doesn't work again. And so if you can kind of imagine, though, if you were to start walking that new path every day and start choosing to make that your new path, then there's this process in your brain that's called myelination, which is the process of creating these new neural pathways and kind of, creating these new reinforced behaviors inside your brain, and until the point where if you walk that new path, and if you use repetition, you use emotion, you use all of these, affirmations and all these different tools to support you in reinforcing that new path long enough, then there will come a point where that becomes the new default way of being. That becomes your new default way of living. It's just like I have a friend that, she lost 150 pounds, and now she's skinny, she's beautiful, and you look at these pictures and it's like two different people, and the reality is she could never go back to how she used to live because there was so much pain there, and how she chooses to live, the way she eats, the way that she sees herself, the way that she takes care of herself is completely different than the fat version of her, right?
Right.
And it's become her new natural way of being and believing and seeing herself. And the same is true with people that go from rags to riches. They've created a new image of themselves, and they create new habits and behaviors, and they do things differently than they did when they were broke. And it has to be
Just
reinforced. Yeah, I know. And it's so funny because broke people seem to be committed to being broke because they're really comfortable walking that path that leads them to their little broke neighborhood, right?
Now, there was something you said earlier though that I found interesting, and it sounds like we're this is what you're talking about. You said that when you were experiencing some challenges, you weren't ready to be wealthy. So that rings so true and loud in my ear, and I've got to ask the question, if I'm listening to you right now, how can I know if I'm ready to be wealthy then?
That's a great question. How can I know if I'm ready to be wealthy? I look at the reasons why I wasn't ready to be wealthy at the time, and I see all of these faulty beliefs that I had around money itself. I still believe that, being successful or managing my resources would be hard work. I wasn't super careful about managing the resources that I had, and this whole idea of stewardship and saying, okay, can I care for the money that I have right now so that I can be entrusted with more? And this is like really important. If you have a hard time managing the few $1,000s a month that you have extra right now, how on earth are you going to manage having millions of dollars in your life, right? And these people, this is like one of the challenges that a lot of people have that say like win the lottery, right? Their financial blueprint is set to such a low level that they can't even manage the few $100s that they have, when they're broke, right? They're not saving any money when they're broke. And they think that somehow if they had a lot of money, that would change. But the reality is no, they're not managing the resources that they have in their life, and they wouldn't even if they had more. And so the moment that they win the lottery, their brain kicks in and they believe, well, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve this, money's not important, or whatever their core beliefs are. And it activates a switch so that the vast majority of people that win the lottery are broke within the first couple of years after, right?
Right. I've
and
seen the same thing.
Yeah, and I think we're aware of it, but people don't realize that you have to change the blueprint first in order for the wealth to come, and you have to learn how to manage the small things so that you can be prepared to manage the big things, and you have to have a core belief that of what money really is, and to really be prepared to create the value in the world so that you're able to receive it, and to also understand that money isn't a solution for your problems, right? Talk to anyone that has money. Sure, it'll buy you more comfortable cars. Sure, it will, buy nice houses, and sure, buy nice things, but you'll still have challenges in your life, right? And sometimes we have this illusion that says, wow, if only I had money, then I wouldn't have any more problems. Right?
Yeah, that you said illusion. So long as that word was in there, I think they heard it, and I've repeated it for their own purposes. Now, for those of us who have been listening to you, I can hear, I can feel the passion, I can tell the commitment. I can also hear that you've got more than we've got time to go over. So if I wanted to take that next step and understand a little bit more, take some of what you shared with us deeper, what's the best way for me to be able to access some more of you?
Perfect. So I'm going to give a couple things. Number one, I would love if anyone that's listening is able to make it to this event that I have called Live Big. I do it like 4 times a year. It's a 3-day transformational process. That's where I do the deepest work to help you create these long-term changes. But what I want to offer is number one, go to GeraldRogers.com, and there's a little link there where you can follow me on Facebook. Every day I'm posting positive messages about how to be an inspired creator and how to create the results you want on Facebook. And so that's a great resource. And then I've got a lot of other free training that you can access there, including an audio recording that I call the Prosperity Producer. And once again, if you enter your information on there, then it'll give me the opportunity to continue to send you, additional information and resources that'll help you to live an inspired life. And that's really my mission. That's my purpose. So once again, just if you go to GeraldRogers.com, you can find some of the free resources that I have there, as well as connect with me on Facebook, which is an opportunity for me to, continue to feed your life with messages that will inspire and empower you.
Awesome. And I know that if in this short time that we've invested together, I think we did produce a great return. I'm sure there's going to be an even greater return for those that continue to follow you and find out more about what you have to offer. So I definitely want to thank you for investing your time here with us and helping us to understand that, yeah, we can definitely, as you say, live big and make money while living on purpose. And it starts with the very thing that we've always had. We've always had the power, and that's very, very good. I appreciate you taking the time, as I said, to invest with us here today.
It was so much fun. Thank you for inviting me.
Now, everyone, I know that you're listening and you're wondering, okay, what do I do now? Well, what you do is exactly what he said. You get the CD, you like him on Facebook, you go follow, because you have the opportunity to move at the speed of instruction. How quickly can change happen? It happens as quickly as your mouse clicks on those very things, and how quickly you can type in the information to go and begin. One step. You don't have to change everything all in 15 seconds or less. Your one step change today is just to go get the CD, go find out, go listen, go act, go do those things, because you never know what's on the other side of all of that. I am definitely glad that you've taken the time to invest with us here today. Hopefully, I will talk to all of you guys again soon. Until next time.
Thank you for investing your time with Jay Massey and the Cash Flow Diary. When you have a moment, please visit iTunes and leave a positive comment about the show. And go now to our website, CashFlowDiary.com, to take advantage of our free business building course, Cash Flow Foundation. Gain the knowledge, understanding, and skill that will teach you how to never need a job again. Until next time.